Hey, what's up guys? Mass Mechanics here and welcome back to the channel. Today's adventure is going to be a Mopar. We have a 5.9 liter Magnum engine. It's the Magnum series. Out of the Rams they had them in. They had them in Dakotas. Jeeps had them. They're very common engine. Super cheap. This one's a 5.9. They also had a 5.2. And even the 3.9 is the same series even though it's a 6-cylinder. But that's what this is here. It's pretty nasty looking. It has low miles. It's under 100,000. We'll go with I think I'm trying to remember what it was. I think it was like 80, something like that. But it's a pretty good looking engine. The cylinder heads are probably cracked. That's a major issue with these. They lose coolant, but you don't have any leaks. It's super common. A good friend of mine owns a machine shop. And he says probably 70 to 80% of all the ones he's ever seen of these engines, the cylinder heads were cracked. So to fix that, luckily in my shed, from all my Dakotas and stuff I used to build, I have a set of these Engine Quest heads that are very, very low miles. And they also have the comp cam roller tip rockers, the guide plates. Hopefully I can find the push rod somewhere. They were in an engine that was running and it ended up having a block issue. So I took them off and they've been sitting in the shed ever since. So these are the Engine Quest heads. That's a brand that I think they're out of Australia or something like that. I'm not sure. You don't quote me on it. But Jeg sells them. You can get them still. And they're moderately affordable compared to buying like a set of Edelbrocks and reconditioned cylinder heads for these engines. The spec on them is allowing some cracks that don't affect performance at the time of the remanufacturing. So just remember that if you're ever working on one of these Mopars and you're going to just get some new heads from the parts store, the reman stuff, there's still a chance that those heads have cracks. So you're better off getting aftermarket. The only two that I know of that are remotely affordable are the Engine Quest, and then the Edelbrocks are for more performance, the aluminum. I think they're Performer RPMs. I've run those in the past also, without problem. But we're going to tear into this. We got to descale it because it's pretty nasty, and go to town on it. The reason it got pulled was because the freeze plugs were leaking because it was so rusty. I don't know. I don't have a light over here right now, but you can kind of see these freeze plugs. That one was leaking right here. This one here was actually leaking on the bottom, and then that one's pretty nasty. And then behind the engine, or behind the transmission there, in the back of the engine, you can see the trail where it was running down the back here too, and then running right onto the flex plate and then spraying out all over the place when it was running. So I had a pretty good coolant leak. So we're going to do a few key upgrades. Stay tuned to that. I got to pull these heads off, get the new heads on with new gaskets, get everything clean, check everything, and then I will be back with you probably when the heads are off, and I'll go over some more upgrades we can do to these Magnums to make them, number one, reliable, and number two, be a little bit better performer. So stay tuned. So here's our engine. Got the cylinder heads off and the intake off and all that good stuff. There you go. It looks nice in here. There's still good cross hatching on the cylinders, which is great. I mean, it is a low mileage engine. There is no real ridge here either, which is really good. That means the engine's been burning clean and there's no real rust or anything that's been in there. So that's a good sign. And one of the upgrades I was talking about with these heads, because these are the factory heads and they are very prone to cracking. In here, they crack in here in particular a lot. They also crack in the coolant area, and they leak into the chamber. So that's a big issue with them. And when I was saying the Engine Quest heads are a good, most affordable way to upgrade, here's the Engine Quest head, and here's the factory head. The density of the casting on the Engine Quest is drastically bigger. You can clearly see it just by looking at it. Your rail here is much thicker. And then also the thickness of the end of the casting. If you look there, see here, like there's just a lot less chance for any kind of warpage or cracking to happen. Down in here, you can see that's where everything's set up. It looks really good. They're just a better all-around casting. And I believe the exhaust ports are also moved a little bit to give you a little better flow. And these heads in particular are good because when I built the other engine, I did do the comp cams, a comp cam valve train upgrade. I got to clean these up a little better because they've been sitting in the shed, but you got some good guides here for them, for the push rods to go through. You got the roller tip rocker arms from comp right there. New valve seals, new springs. So these will be a nice healthy upgrade for these old tired heads, and it'll make it so we don't have to worry about it in the future having any leaks or problems. So that way this thing will get a lot more miles out of it. But as for the engine, we got to work on getting these freeze plugs out, so we're going to do that next. And we got some new freeze plugs right here, along with head bolts, gaskets, intake gaskets, all that good stuff. The bottom end's good because it has a new oil pan on it already. You did that before you even saw it with a new pump. And these cams are good too because they're roller cams, which is nice. Similar to the Chevys of this era. The 350s, they're roller also. These are a great engine to work with because they do have a lot of potential. The blocks are pretty hardy overall. And once you do a cylinder head upgrade, you can upgrade the valve train pretty well also. And on one of the engines I built, I even put 1.7 rocker arms in it with a big cam with a blower and everything else. So there's a lot of potential with these to make good power. I was well over 500 horsepower in that engine. It was probably closer to 600 horse. I don't remember the numbers offhand anymore. It's been quite a few years, but they're just a good engine to get a hold of because they're super cheap. You can get them in all the trucks, like I said, and Jeeps and other things that they came in. And honestly, I prefer these over like the LA motors, which were the, your 340, your 360, your 318, the original ones, the old stuff from the 60s and 70s. These are a little hardier blocks, I think. I feel like with the roller cam upgrade and things like that, they're just a step up from those, and they don't leak oil anywhere near as much either. And the distributor is computer controlled in this, obviously, but the old LA style distributor fits right in place. So if you're ever going to use one of these engines for a swap, you have all the serpentine stuff that goes in the front of the engine out of whatever you take it from, and then you change your intake to a carb and put a different distributor in from the old style engine, and you got yourself an engine ready to go. And I believe the bell housing bolts right up to a 727. So they're a very affordable and cheap way of going to put a 360 in an old style Mopar. So it's just a good thing to remember when you're trying to build one of these for the cheap, because once you get into the Hemi stuff and things like that, you're talking a lot of money, and these you can do for very affordable. So it's just another cheap way to go and still have a good healthy V8 that puts out enough power to really make it an enjoyable ride. So we're going to keep going, getting ready to get these cylinder heads cleaned up some more and bolted on, and then we'll get back with you. Alright, well, we're doing the freeze plugs here on the side of the block while we got it out, because that was one of the main reasons we took it out, was because there was freeze plug leaks. So what I wanted to do was just show you guys how to do it. I like to take a screwdriver here, right around this area, right in the corner, and tap it real good. And while I'm tapping it, it pivots the bottom in and then the top comes out. And you can either hit it with a screwdriver and pull it, or I'll just grab a hold of it with these and pull it out. Because we already got a few of them out right here, as you can see. So just going to keep going, and I'll show you it when they're all put back in. Those, they go easy. You just tap them in. But yeah, you just tap a corner, get it to flip, pop it out, and clean this up, get rid of this rust. I like to take like the edge of a screwdriver and really clean that up good. And then I'll tap it, get it, and then I'll be able to yank it right out. And then this is what it looks like inside. You can see where the cylinders are. You can even still see a little bit of sand in there from when they cast it. So that's it. I'm just going to keep going. Just to give you guys an idea, this is one of the really bad freeze plugs, and so is this one here. See if it'll focus. There it is. I mean, they're really rotten. You can see where they've been leaking. All this here came out of this freeze plug here, along with this one. Now, when you're doing something like freeze plugs, this little plug here, on all the engines I've ever worked on, when it comes to these older ones, like the 350, even the LS stuff, they all have plugs right here. What you do is you pull these, and then you can drain out all your coolant. They're really handy on boats, especially when you're winterizing. You pull these, and then you drain all the seawater, raw water, whatever you're using, and then you can put in the winterizing stuff, so that way it doesn't freeze up on you over the winter. But that's what you use these plugs for, and it flushes most of the coolant or water or whatever you got it out in there. So it makes this type of job a lot easier, because if you drained the coolant, took the heads off, and started doing this, there'd still be a ton of coolant under here. But yeah, you can see I can almost get the screwdriver right through the plug. It's pretty bad. I mean, I don't know why they use material like this. We're putting the brass ones in. I think the kit was like, I don't know, 15 or 17 bucks to do every single plug on the engine. All the different sizes, even the threaded ones. So, I mean, it just doesn't make sense why the factory doesn't use it, but I guess it keeps mechanics in business. So here we go. We're going to get these plugs out. Just to give you guys a little clarification, after you tap it in the corner, like I said before, this is kind of what it looks like. And you just grab it with some pliers, and you can rock it back and forth and pull it out. Pretty nasty. Now that we're onto the intake, this is an aftermarket piece from Hughes. This is the bottom. Now, as you can see, there's no valley pan that you can take off that the factory one does have that leaks all the time. There's a sheet metal cover that goes right here, about pretty much where this big indentation is, and that leaks like a sieve. They have a gasket that goes behind it, but being sheet metal, and then the manifold factory being aluminum, it constantly is leaking. So as you can see, this is a Hughes one, and this is from my pile of old parts I had from when I built a couple of these other Dodges. And it's basically, from what I understand, it's a Edelbrock Performer RPM air gap that they machined for fuel injectors. And these are Ford Racing injectors. I don't remember the PSI, but the PCM is programmed to run those injectors with this 5.9 swap that we did in this truck that we're working on. But this is a really nice piece, and they're not overly cheap either. They're somewhere in the realm of like $500. But when your intake, they call it the whiskey barrel intake or barrel intake. They're a great big one, and they actually make quite a bit of torque and power. But the problem is that thing's always leaking. It's always sucking oil right into the intake, causing smoke problems, cat problems, plugging up the whole top of the engine with just soot and black oil burned up. It's a mess. It's really common with these Magnum engines, and this is a extremely good upgrade if you're going to stay with the EFI setup. I mean, if you're going to go carbureted, then put a carb manifold on. That's the way to go, because this manifold actually has a carb flange on it, and it has an adapter to run the throttle body. As you can see, it's just a 4-barrel right here, and then the throttle body is mounted on an adapter plate, and that's bolted on. But yeah, you can get these trucks like this one here. This has got a 6-inch lift with 35s. It's a 1500 extended cab long bed. But these trucks, you can get them for, $1,000, $1,500, maybe $2,000 for a real good one. They're very affordable because right there, the transmissions. They have a big issue with the transmissions on these second generation Rams. They tend to blow up a lot. They start slipping and blow up. Well, the issue is there's a band adjustment that I believe in the service manual says every 30,000 miles needs to be done. And I don't know anyone who's ever owned one of these trucks that had it done. So that's why these transmissions blow up. As I said, I had one of these Magnum engines built in a Dakota I had, and with a supercharger and a fully built out engine that was really potent. And that thing, was in the realm of 600 horsepower, and I was running a stock transmission with a good shift kit and things like that, and a good converter and everything. But this is our engine. This is where we're at. We got to adjust the valves. They're just snugged. Got it all cleaned up. Got it painted. Putting the plugs in now. She's looking a lot better. Got the new heads on. Gonna have that nice intake on it. So we shouldn't have any head cracking issues with coolant problems. We shouldn't have any issues with oil getting into the intake, causing it to plug up and carbon up. So this thing should run for a long, long time, maintenance free, other than oil changes. So that's the goal. We even got the little roller rockers. I mean, they're not necessary for this application, but people like them, and they're part of this nice comp cam setup. You can see the, let me see if I can find the name here for you. Yeah, there's the guide plates and the one-piece push rods, and it's just the way to go. And now if you ever did have an aftermarket cam, you can adjust your valve train like a Chevy, like a 350. Basically, it's the same thing. And the other neat thing with these is you can put a 1.7 rocker arm in if you really wanted to up your duration and lift. Because the Magnums have room for that, which is cool, because I've never really seen one on a small block Chevy. So, and I personally put one on a Magnum engine before with 1.7s on my blower motor. So, pretty cool little trivia there on it, but they're a good engine. They really are. They're kind of a black sheep because of all the issues, but once you iron them out, they're really strong, really potent, and can handle a ton of power if you really want them to, and they're reliable with the roller cam and a nice setup. They don't really leak too many, they're not leaking oil all the time like some of the old engines did, and they're just a solid workhorse. And this one should be in the 300 horse range all day with the tune and the, I got some nice long tube headers to go on it. We got the better heads, and the exhaust ports are raised. I looked at them, measured it. They are, so that helps quite a bit, and the better casting so they won't leak. It's definitely the way to go. So we're going to keep wrenching, get this intake on, and I'll show you when we catch up to it. All right, well, we got the engine all assembled now. Here it is. Looking pretty good. Everything's torqued. Everything's tight. It's all painted and cleaned up. Came out really nice. It's going to really make the engine bay look good. So here it is with that Hughes manifold. Like I said, it's the air gap, I believe, from Edelbrock. Perform RPM air gap. That's what it looks like, from what I understand. It's nice and machined out. These are your Engine Quest heads. They look pretty good. I mean, if you didn't know what a factory head looks like, you'd think they were until you saw the ends. But if you knew what they are, clearly the ends are a lot beefier. As you can see, I don't know if I showed you already, but see how this one's cast by itself, by itself, and you got this one here with a freeze plug. This, no freeze plug, and it's all one solid piece, so it's a much stronger end. And overall, the head's just a better piece, so that's good. Got the spark plugs in, got the valves adjusted just like a small block Chevy or a big block Chevy, whatever. It's the same setup, and that's it. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. These engines, they have a lot of potential. They're great for hot rods. You can put them in a lot of the old muscle cars for super cheap. They're in the junkyards like crazy. Working on these trucks is pretty simple too. So if you're interested in something really reasonable to build up, these are a decent option, and I really wanted to show that to you. So please, guys, like, subscribe to the channel. We have a lot of builds going on. We're working on a lot of different things. So I just wanted to cover this for you, so give you guys some more knowledge. So please, again, subscribe and check us out on Instagram or even on Facebook. We got a page on there, and we are the Mass Mechanics.